Hi everyone, thanks for coming back. If you're new to my channel, this video is part of building online shopping website. If you're interested in building your own website from scratch, you're welcome to watch the whole playlist of how to build your own website. If you just want to learn how to use the forms in Angular or just want to learn the basic stuff from the Angular, you are in the right place. Last video we have built our homepage and we also import our server project into our website. So today we're going to build our client login and registration pages. We are going to build the client login and registration as its own module and import to our app module. Let's see how we're gonna do it. A follow-up from last video, we have created a nice header and footer. Okay, let's open a new terminal to generate some components we need. So we're gonna generate a client auth component. This component will be our module folder because our login and registration will be under this folder. So let's open the client auth folder and generate another two components, one login and one register. Now I'm gonna generate a module for this part of the app. So this client module is a children of the app module. So inside our client module, we're gonna add the routes into the module. You see our root module has two separate modules. One is app routing and one is app module. We're gonna put all of them together for this client module. So I'm gonna add the routes and our client auth folder. The component will be our parent here. You need to remember we can only have the component declared in one of the module. Here we're gonna delete the components that automatically inserted into the app module and delete them and put them inside our client module so that won't be error. Just remember you can only use the components in one of those modules. Okay, so I will add the children into our client auth module and into the routes too. For the routes, we need to use the router module. So we're gonna import our router module for the children. It's for child, we add the routes in there. If you check our app module and app routing module, it's for root. You need to make sure everything is imported in the correct place. Let's see if this routing is working. Let's add our link to the home page. So you need to use router link to navigate to different pages. So you remember our parent is client auth here, so we're gonna use that as our link. The really important part is every module has to register or import it into the app module, our parent. So now it's working. We can see that client auth component is working. Here it's working, but you can see it doesn't show the children yet. Let's add something into the login so we can see if it works. So now I'm gonna add the forms in our login. There are two components we're gonna use: email and password for credential. I'm going to just use Bootstrap because it's really convenient. So now we can see that doesn't show the children yet. We need to add the other outlet, we add to our app HTML file too. Now we need to use that to for the client children's too. See, it works now. Let's continue to add our password component into our form. Make sure you're using the correct name when you copy and paste things. We need a button for our login. If you already know how to do the form and styling, everything like that, you don't really need to watch this part. Now I'm gonna add some styling to my form so it will be centered in the page. Now I'm adding the class into my form. Not working. I need to add a dot in front of the form login because the class start with a dot. Now our form is in the center of the browser. I also add some styling to our components like input. I like to keep my font consistent, so I'm gonna put in this global style sheets that all the heading should be using the same font. Keep it consistent. I like that better. Let's put some styling to the login button. Here I'm gonna add a link to the registration for the client. When the user doesn't have a username or email to log in, we're gonna give a clue to how to register to sign up for the website. So I add a router link to the client of the register. I like to add some padding to this div tag so we don't need to be so crowded there. Okay, we can navigate to the registration now. For the registration, it's pretty simple. Just copy the whole thing and change to registration, and copy and add a username and confirm password into the form. Make sure all those are correctly. My type should be text. I use the username there. I want to keep my customer registration in the same line. So I'm gonna change it to H3, the header, heading 3. It'll look better. I'm gonna change to the login heading 3 too. Change to the login to register, and also change the login navigation back to the login from registration. Oh, now it's working. Usually I will check if my website looking good in different screen. So I like to use their device emulator so I can look at the website how it looks like in different screen. Oh, you should try that too. Okay, let's go back to our registration component. Here we are gonna use a reactive form to handle the user input for the registration. There are two different type of form in Angular. You can go to the document to check the differences. I'm gonna import a form builder to build reactive form to set up this form. I'm gonna create a function to build this form. So you need to pay attention that the username, all those attributes inside of this form should match the name in the front end. So the form we just built for the registration in HTML file. If you go to the HTML file, you need to know that it's the same. Here we're gonna do a form validation too. So just import the validators to do the validation in the front end. You can also do that in the server, but I think it's better to do it when before we send everything to the server to reduce the traffic in the server, I think. You can go to the document to check the validation too. It's pretty simple. So for the validation, you need to use the get method to create a validation in the front end, so you can directly to use the username and email password to do the error checking. So after we finish this, I'm going to do some updating in the front in the HTML file. We want to display the correct error message for the user input. So I'm gonna add some components or parts to check the error message. Angular has some CSS classes to style the form control elements. So like I used valid, dirty, touched. Those are classes for the form control. We can use that to show our error messages. If you want to know more about the validation, you can go to the document form validation to check out all those classes. Here I need to mention the ngIf I used here. It's a if statement. We can use like regular if statement to handle the HTML layout here. It's a structure directive like ng4 too, so it will listen to the changes and reshape the DOM. So the DOM is the layout of the HTML, this whole page, by adding and removing and manipulating the elements. Here we are listening to the validation If the user input is not validated, then we will show the error message that wasn't there before. So it's changing the layout of the whole page. Let's go back to the video where I put the form group and client form data there into the attribute. Also, ng submit event listener to listening the register function in the component TS file. Also, don't forget to add a register function back to the TS component file. So in Angular, if you want to use reactive form, we need to add the form module and reactive form module in the client module file we created. Also add the form control name into the attribute to match the attribute name that we created reactive form. Okay, just do the same to add all the error message to all those elements we need for the form to show correct error messages. So for the pattern, we need to add extra error message to mention that if the user input is in a correct email format. We just need to be careful when we type in our form control name. If it's misspelled or its name is incorrect, then the error message won't be showing. So just be careful about that. Here I'm going to add disable property here inside of this button because when we taking care of the user input, we want to make sure that all those input are valid. If all those input are valid, we can let user to continue their actions. Here I'm gonna use isMatch to handle the passwords to see if they match with each other. Good practice probably is to create a customized validator to add to the form builder. But here I'm gonna just create a check it password function to handle it. Don't forget to update the from HTML file as well to add the error message to tell the user that the password doesn't match with each other. I use change event listener to listen the check password function for user input. So the isMatch variable will update after the user input. Okay, so now the form will check if the user inputs are all valid as well as all the passwords are matched with each other. Now I'm just gonna copy everything from register component to update the login page. So in the TS component, I'm gonna update the form, only keep email and password. Also change the fields. We don't need the check password. Also update the function register to login, and also change the function in the HTML file as login instead of the register. And update all the error message. I will keep the email and password. Okay, that's all for this video. We have created a nice login and registration form for the client. In general, this video is pretty simple. I think the hardest part is to create your own module and to import them to the parent module, and to make sure that all the components of the children should be in the correct module. Plus, the reactive form is a little complicated, as well as the validation. If you have more practice, you should be fine. Thanks again for watching this video. If you like my video, give me a thumb up and just subscribe my channel. Thank you so much. See you next time.